My parents cursed my dreams, pushing me out into the storm. Years later, they returned, not for reconciliation, but with a desperate plea that threatened to drag me back into their web of deceit. The storm raged outside, a furious symphony of wind and rain that mirrored the tempest brewing within Elara Vance. At 27, she was meticulously folding the last of her clothes, a defiant act against the suffocating silence from downstairs, punctuated by her father Arthur's heavy, angry footsteps and her mother Eleanor's sigh, thick with disappointment. Each item she packed was a fragment of a future they hadn't chosen for her, a future where sterile operating rooms were traded for the sizzle and scent of a bustling kitchen. A sharp rap on her bedroom door made her flinch, not from fear, but from a weary anticipation. "Elara, get down here, now." Arthur's voice was a thunderclap, laced with a familiar command. She descended the grand staircase, her worn travel bag clutched tight, its weight a comforting anchor. Her parents stood in the opulent living room, an unspoken judgment radiating from every expensive heirloom. Arthur, imposing even in his casual wear, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. Eleanor, elegant in a silk robe, her face a mask of sorrow that felt more performative than genuine. "So, this is it then?" Arthur's voice cut through the air, sharp as a surgeon's scalpel. "You're throwing away everything. Years of education, a guaranteed future for a greasy spoon." He spat the last words like a curse. Eleanor wrung her hands. "Elara, darling, think of the stability. Your father and I just want what's best for you. Medicine, it's a noble profession. This restaurant whim." "Then go," Arthur roared, the sound echoing through the house. "And don't darken this door again. You're no daughter of mine if you abandon your birthright." The heavy door slammed shut behind her with a finality that shook the very foundations of the house, severing not just a physical connection, but the last fragile threads of a familial bond. Stepping out into the torrential rain, the cold wind whipped her hair across her face. Elara paused, clutching her bag tighter, the city lights shimmering through the downpour like a blurred promise. The prophecy of failure hung in the air, a bitter taste on her tongue. But beneath it, a fierce, burning resolve ignited. She would not just survive, she would thrive. And she would never, ever crawl back. With a deep breath, she walked away, a lone figure swallowed by the storm and the daunting, exhilarating unknown. 2 years later, Ember had become the city's most coveted reservation. During an intimate celebration of the restaurant's anniversary, amidst the clinking of glasses and the warm glow of string lights, Elara's phone vibrated. It was a message from her mother, Eleanor. Arthur, her mother claimed, had suffered a sudden heart attack, requiring urgent bypass surgery. The message pleaded for $10,000, money Eleanor insisted was needed to cover the portion of the medical bill not covered by insurance, citing a severe and unexpected family financial crisis. The echo of the bank transfer notification still vibrated in Elara's phone, a cold, unwelcome chime. The initial payment of $10,000 had done little to quell the gnawing suspicion that had taken root deep within her. 2 weeks passed in a haze of relentless work at Ember, the restaurant now a bustling sanctuary from her past. Just as she allowed herself a fleeting moment of peace, the next blow landed. Her mother, Eleanor, called again. This time, her voice was laced with an even more pronounced desperation, a tremor that sent a chill down Elara's spine. "Elara, darling, it's worse than we thought," Eleanor began, a dramatic pause hanging in the air. "The mortgage. Arthur's extended medical leave. We're facing foreclosure. We need another $50,000. Immediately. Or we'll lose everything. The house, our memories." A sharp, metallic taste filled Elara's mouth. 50,000. Just 2 weeks after the first emergency. The red flags weren't just waving, they were a crimson banner unfurling violently in her mind. This wasn't a crisis. This felt like a coordinated attack on her conscience, a calculated exploitation of the lingering, foolish hope she'd harbored for a genuine reconciliation. The phantom warmth of childhood memories, which had swayed her to send the first sum, now felt like a cruel illusion. Her anger simmered, a slow burn beneath the surface of her calm exterior. She remembered her father's venomous prophecy, "You'll fail, you'll collapse." Now, it seemed, they were trying to orchestrate her collapse by financial drain. But this time, Elara wouldn't be a passive victim. The years of building Ember, forging success from nothing, had hardened her into someone far more resilient, more pragmatic. She feigned concern on the phone, extracting the supposed mortgage details and Arthur's new unemployment status. As soon as she hung up, the facade crumbled. There would be no more emotional handouts. It was time for facts. Elara's first call was to the hospital where Arthur had undergone his surgery. Posing as a billing administrator double-checking a patient's ledger, she learned that Arthur's out-of-pocket expenses were indeed significantly lower than reported, only $3,200. The remaining $6,800 from her initial $10,000 transfer had been fully refunded to her parents weeks ago. The lie was exposed, stark and unforgiving. Her investigation didn't stop there. Through an old medical school classmate who still worked in Arthur's industry, Elara discreetly inquired about his employment. To her disgust, she discovered Arthur was not only still employed, but had been steadily working, his income stable and substantial. There had been no extended medical leave affecting his finances. Finally, a quick search of public property records confirmed the final piece of the puzzle. The Vance family home's mortgage was current, with no recorded delinquencies or threats of foreclosure. The entire narrative her mother had spun was a meticulously crafted fabrication. Elara stood in her restaurant's quiet office, the evidence laid out before her. Each revelation was a fresh stab of betrayal, twisting the faint tendrils of filial affection into bitter resentment. Her parents weren't in crisis. They were con artists, coldly and methodically attempting to extort her. The anger that had been simmering now ignited into a blazing inferno of righteous indignation. They had not just lied, they had weaponized her last vestiges of compassion. This wasn't about saving them, it was about stopping them. Her first move was to contact the hospital. Posing as a concerned relative seeking clarity on confusing billing statements, Elara navigated the labyrinthine administrative channels. What she uncovered was a stark betrayal. Arthur's actual out-of-pocket expenses for the bypass surgery totaled a mere $3,200, a figure well within their insurance coverage after the initial deductible. More damningly, the hospital confirmed that a refund check for the remaining $6,800 of the original $10,000 Elara had sent had been issued directly to her parents a week after the surgery. Her money hadn't been fully used for a life-saving procedure. It had been pocketed. The fury that flared within Elara was icy precise. She didn't stop there. Reaching out to an old classmate who worked in the same financial firm as Arthur, Elara casually inquired about his well-being. The classmate, oblivious, gushed about Arthur's recent promotion and a substantial bonus, confirming he was not only actively employed but thriving. The narrative of a sick, unemployed father, spun by Eleanor, dissolved into a malicious fiction. Finally, a quick search of public property records revealed no outstanding liens, no missed payments, no indication whatsoever of a looming mortgage default on the Vance family home. Their property was secure, their finances robust. The pieces clicked into place with horrifying precision. The fabricated illness, the inflated costs, the emotional blackmail, the escalating demands, it was all a meticulously crafted charade designed to exploit her. Elara stared at the collected evidence on her desk, the cold hard facts a brutal counterpoint to her parents' honeyed lies. The bitter taste of betrayal filled her mouth, sharper than any culinary spice. They hadn't just taken her money, they had systematically dismantled the last fragments of hope she held for a reconciliation, proving their contempt for her was boundless. The righteous indignation that had simmered after the first lie now ignited into a blazing inferno of righteous indignation. They had not just lied, they had weaponized her last vestiges of compassion. This wasn't about saving them, it was about stopping them. This wasn't about blood, it was about justice. The rage that pulsed through her veins was cold, calculating, and absolutely resolute. The scent of rosemary and slow-braised lamb filled Ember, a deliberate choice by Elara. She'd wanted the evening to feel ironically warm, a stark contrast to the cold calculations simmering beneath her composed exterior. Arthur and Eleanor Vance arrived promptly, Eleanor's perfectly coiffed hair and Arthur's tailored suit a facade of their usual grandeur, now tinged with a faint, almost imperceptible desperation. They embraced Elara with a practiced affection that no longer reached her. "My dear Elara, what a wonderful surprise," Eleanor cooed, her eyes darting around the packed, vibrant restaurant, a hint of envy in their depths. "Ember, it's truly magnificent. Your father and I are so proud." Arthur, looking healthier than Elara had anticipated from his supposed near-death experience, clapped her on the shoulder. "Yes, very impressive. Though, of course, your talents would have been better utilized saving lives, not serving meals." The old patronizing tone was still there, a default setting he couldn't switch off, even now. Elara merely offered a tight, polite smile, the kind she reserved for difficult customers. She motioned them to a secluded table in the back, away from the hum of the main dining room, a stage prepared for her final act. Over an appetizer of perfectly seared scallops, Eleanor spoke of Arthur's miraculous recovery, exaggerating every detail of his suffering, painting him as a man snatched from the jaws of death. Arthur, for his part, managed a weak smile, nodding along, subtly gauging Elara's reaction. "It's a blessing, really, that I pulled through. Though the medical bill's a nightmare. And with the market downturn, my portfolio has taken a beating." Eleanor's little investments also didn't quite pan out. He glanced at Eleanor, who blushed faintly, a silent signal for her to chime in with their rehearsed woes. "Oh, darling, it's been a constant struggle," Eleanor chimed, her voice laced with manufactured distress. "We're facing the possibility of losing the house. The bank, they're ruthless." She wrung her hands, a gesture Elara knew well, designed to elicit sympathy. "That $10,000 you sent for Arthur's surgery, it was a godsend. Truly. But it barely touched the surface." Elara set her fork down slowly, deliberately. The pretense had served its purpose. "I'm so glad to hear Arthur is recovering well," she began, her voice calm, devoid of the warmth she'd feigned moments earlier. "And I'm always here to help family, as you know. Especially when there's a genuine need." Her eyes locked onto Arthur's, then Eleanor's. A flicker of unease crossed their faces. "In fact, I wanted to discuss the other $50,000 you mentioned, Mother." "The mortgage issue." Arthur cleared his throat. "Yes, well, it's a delicate situation. We truly appreciate your generosity, Elara. It's a testament to your character, despite your unconventional choices." He tried to regain control, to diminish her, even now. Elara leaned forward, her composure unwavering. "I agree. It is a delicate situation. So delicate, in fact, that I decided to look into it myself. Out of concern, of course." Her tone hardened, the edge of steel now unmistakable. "You see, Mother, when you said Arthur's self-pay portion for the bypass was $10,000, I found that peculiar. Most insurance plans, even with high deductibles, wouldn't leave such a large gap for a covered procedure." Eleanor's smile faltered. Arthur's face stiffened. "So I called St. Jude's Hospital directly," Elara continued, her voice gaining a quiet, terrifying precision. "Your actual out-of-pocket was $3,200. The remaining $6,800 was refunded to your account 3 days after the procedure. Did that slip your mind?" A stunned silence fell. Eleanor stammered, "And no, darling, there must be a mistake. The hospital always overestimates." "There was no mistake, Mother," Elara cut in, pulling a sleek tablet from her bag. On it, a bank statement clearly showed a $6,800 credit. "And as for Arthur's supposed unemployment, leading to this financial crisis?" She swiped to another screen. "My old medical school classmate, Dr. Ben Carter, works at the same hospital as Arthur. He confirmed Arthur is not only still employed, but received a promotion 6 months ago. His income, according to his public tax records, is quite stable. Over $200,000 a year, in fact." Arthur slammed his hand on the table, making the cutlery jump. "This is an invasion of privacy." How dare you spy on your own family? His voice boomed, but it lacked its usual conviction, laced now with panic. How dare you lie to me? Exploit my empathy? My desire for reconciliation? Elara retorted, her voice rising for the first time, fueled by years of suppressed anger. And the mortgage, mother? The imminent foreclosure? Public records show your mortgage is fully current. Not a single payment missed. No notice of default. In fact, you just refinanced last year, taking out a significant equity loan. Curious, isn't it? She presented printouts from the county recorder's office, irrefutable. I even hired a private investigator to confirm every detail. Here are his reports. Eleanor burst into tears, a dramatic, performative sob. You're ruining us. How could you? After everything we've done for you. Everything you've done? Elara scoffed, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. You mean everything you tried to force me to be, everything you tried to take from me. You used my guilt, my foolish hope for a connection, to extort money. Not once, but twice. Just then, the restaurant's double doors swung open, and two figures in dark suits stepped inside, their presence immediately drawing eyes. Detectives. One of them, a stern-faced woman, walked directly to their table, holding up a badge. Arthur Vance, Eleanor Vance, we have an arrest warrant for you on charges of aggravated fraud and attempted extortion, filed by Ms. Elara Vance. Arthur's face turned a mottled red, a vein throbbing in his temple. Elara, what have you done? You've destroyed this family, he roared, his voice cracking with outrage and a sickening fear. Elara met his furious gaze with a calm, unwavering stare, a lifetime of hurt and betrayal condensing into her final, measured words. 2 years ago, you destroyed it yourselves. I am merely refusing to be discarded again. The immediate aftermath of Elara's declaration sent shockwaves. Arthur and Eleanor Vance, stunned and humiliated, were indeed arrested, the silent click of handcuffs a stark punctuation mark to the evening's dramatic revelations. The legal battle that followed was swift and merciless, fueled by Elara's irrefutable evidence. The court, recognizing the severity of the familial manipulation and financial deception, sentenced them to probation rather than prison, a concession to their age and lack of prior offenses. Yet, the legal leniency offered little solace. Their names, once symbols of respected lineage within their affluent community, became synonymous with deceit. The local papers, eager for scandal, plastered their faces and the details of their downfall across headlines, painting a vivid picture of avarice and manipulation. Arthur, unable to bear the public scorn and the professional repercussions, resigned from his long-held executive position. Stripped of their financial stability and social standing, they sold their grand house, a monument to the very aspirations they had denied Elara, and retreated to a nondescript, smaller town hundreds of miles away. They began again, shadowed by the heavy cloak of their past choices, the weight of their self-inflicted exile a constant, silent companion. Elara felt no regret. Not a shred. As news of her parents' legal outcome and subsequent disappearance reached her, a profound, almost dizzying sense of liberation washed over her. It wasn't triumph over them, but an unburdening of the invisible chains that had bound her since childhood. The suffocating pressure of their expectations, the constant need for their impossible approval, had vanished, leaving behind a vast, exhilarating emptiness that she was now free to fill. Ember, her beloved restaurant, flourished in this newfound freedom, its success soaring higher than ever before. The story of its tenacious owner, her culinary genius, and her unwavering pursuit of authenticity against all odds, captivated the nation. A prestigious culinary magazine featured Elara on its cover, her eyes, once haunted by doubt, now sparkling with a fierce, quiet joy. The article praised her innovative dishes, but more so, her indomitable spirit, labeling her a culinary force and a symbol of self-made triumph. A year passed. Elara, now a recognized figure in the culinary world, stood amidst the clamor and warmth of Ember's 3rd anniversary celebration. Later that evening, sifting through a stack of mail, she found it, A thick, cream-colored envelope addressed in Arthur's familiar, looping script. Her heart gave a curious, distant thump. Inside, pages filled with his elegant handwriting. He acknowledged his mistakes, detailing the shame and regret that had become their daily bread. There were apologies, belated and heavy, for the years of emotional neglect, for the crushing pronouncements, and for the final, devastating betrayal. He even expressed a hesitant, almost fragile, pride in her achievements, confessing he had been watching her meteoric rise from afar. Elara read it twice, her expression unreadable. She folded the letter carefully, smoothing the creases, and placed it not in a shredder, nor on display, but into a small, forgotten drawer in her office desk. She understood that perhaps, in the distant future, a path to forgiveness, even a fragile reconciliation, might open. But that future was not now. Her present was a symphony of self-determination, a life meticulously crafted on her own terms, free from manipulation. She savored the taste of this unbound freedom, the absolute certainty that she, and she alone, controlled her destiny.